Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unlocking a fantastic secret to getting way more fruit from your trees and faster than you probably ever thought possible. And you want to know the best part? You can do it without making a single cut. So let's start with a problem that I'm sure a lot of us have run into. You've got this beautiful fruit tree, but every single year it just gives you more leaves than fruit. You've tried pruning, you've tried fertilizing, and nothing really seems to move the needle. Does that sound at all familiar? See, here's what happens. When you prune a branch, especially one that's shooting straight up, the tree kind of panics. Yeah, it thinks it's losing the race to get to the sun. So it blasts out these super vigorous vertical branches. We call them water sprouts. Now, they look really healthy, but they are all about one thing: vegetative growth. That means leaves and wood, not the reproductive growth that gives us all that delicious fruit.
And this whole rebound effect, it works directly against what you're trying to do, trapping you in this really frustrating cycle. You cut back with the growth you don't want, and the tree just comes back with even more of it. You're basically fighting your tree's own biology. And that's a fight you're just not going to win with a pair of shears alone.
But what if I told you there's a more elegant and almost ancient solution? A technique that actually works with your tree's internal chemistry instead of fighting against it? Well, there is. It's called branch bending, and let me tell you, it is a total game changer. That's right, we're talking about a biohack for your orchard. By just changing a branch's physical orientation, from vertical to more horizontal, you can literally flip a switch inside the tree. You're sending it a clear hormonal signal that says, hey, stop reaching for the sky and start making some fruit for me. Now, to really get how powerful this is, we need to dive into the why. It all comes down to these invisible hormones that are constantly flowing through your tree, pretty much dictating its every move. Okay, so the key concept here is something called apical dominance. The easiest way to think about it is like a little dictatorship, and it's run by the very tip of each branch. Now, this top bud has one mission and one mission only: grow straight up as fast as possible to beat out all its neighbors for sunlight. And to do that, it produces these hormones called auxins. And you can think of these auxins as little policemen. So as long as the branch is pointing up, these auxins flow straight down with gravity, and they go around telling all the little side buds, nope, stay dormant, not your time. They're enforcing the tree's main goal: just get taller. And this is what keeps the tree stuck in that vegetative state, making leaves, not apples. But, and this is the really cool part, the system has one huge weakness. Those auxin policemen are slaves to gravity. And that is the vulnerability we can totally exploit. When you change the branch's relationship to gravity, you just completely disrupt the entire chain of command. Just look at this. When you bend a branch so it's horizontal, that whole downward flow of auxin just gets cut off. The policemen can't reach the side buds anymore. And all of a sudden, those dormant buds wake up. And because they're not getting told to grow up anymore, they get the signal to become fruit spurs instead. This hormonal shift also changes the branch's internal chemistry. A vertical branch is high in nitrogen, which is basically fuel for leafy growth. But a horizontal branch, that slows down the sap flow, causing it to build up carbohydrates, carbon. And this shift, this is the final trigger: a high carbon to nitrogen ratio. That right there is the definitive chemical signal for the tree to start making flower buds. Okay, so we've got the science down. Now let's get practical. How do you actually turn this into a strategy you can use in your own backyard? Maybe even this weekend. First off, the angle is everything. A gentle 45-degree bend, that'll give you a nice mix of growth and fruiting. But a flat 90-degree angle, that is the absolute powerhouse, the sweet spot for maximizing fruit. Just be really careful not to bend it below horizontal, because that can actually starve the branch of energy. And your timing has to be right. The absolute best time to do this is in early summer. That's when all the new growth is green and super pliable. It's also when the tree is actively deciding which buds are going to become flowers for next year. So you are literally programming next spring's harvest right now. And listen, you don't need any fancy gear for this. Simple stuff from around the house works perfectly. You can use old water bottles filled with sand for weights, some soft twine to tie branches down to stakes, or even just little notched sticks to spread branches apart. Easy. So let's just stack this up. Why is this ancient technique so much more effective and, frankly, safer for your tree than just reaching for the pruning shears every time? Well, the difference is pretty stark when you see it side by side. Pruning creates open wounds, right? Those are basically open doors for disease. And it removes the tree's solar panels, its leaves. Bending, on the other hand, is completely non-invasive. It preserves every single precious leaf, and the results? They are incredibly fast.
How fast are we talking? Well, it is not uncommon for a young tree, one that has stubbornly refused to fruit for years, to produce its very first crop just 1 year after its branches are bent. 1 single season. That's the power of hacking this hormone flow.
And this isn't some kind of obscure gardening trick. This principle of breaking apical dominance, it's a cornerstone of modern agriculture. In the world of high-value specialty crops, they call it low-stress training, or LST, and they use it to maximize their yields by creating way more fruiting sites. So the really crucial point here is a shift in your mindset. You're no longer fighting the tree with force. Instead, you're guiding its natural energy. You're actually engaging in a kind of hormonal negotiation, telling the tree that that frantic race for the sun, it's finally over. And now, the season of the harvest can begin. It really makes you think, doesn't it? When you take the time to understand the underlying rules of a system, you can achieve these incredible results without resorting to force. And it really leaves you wondering, if we can guide a tree's energy instead of just fighting it, what other systems in our world could we learn to guide too?